I'm so glad you could make it. Sit down, sit down. Oh, yeah. Oh, the band is gonna be awesome tonight. I dig it.
Hey, welcome back to Therapy Sessions. That's Thairapy Sessions. I'm your host, Auntie Hair Coach, and I interview regular people telling real stories about their beauty industry journey. I know that what we do is fun and perceived as glamorous, so it's through sheer audacity that professional stylists and barbers are creating industry disruption in their own unique ways. I've spoken with business owners, industry influencers, educators, innovators, and so much more. We share beauty industry tips, tricks, pitfalls, cheat codes, and everything in between just to remind you that you're not alone. With Therapy Sessions, it is my sincerest intention that by sharing our unique journeys with the world, beauty professionals will be empowered to discover your own uniqueness, which is where your true superpowers lie. So relax, get vulnerable, get inspired, hit that follow button, and be empowered to discover and share your own unique power to contribute to this amazing beauty industry that continues to challenge us all to keep learning, keep growing, and keep reaching for the highest version of ourselves. I'm Auntie Hair Coach, and this is Season 3 of Therapy Sessions.
I'm so glad you could make it.
Hey, welcome back to Therapy Sessions. That's Thairapy Sessions. I'm your host, Auntie Hair Coach, and I interview regular people telling real stories about their beauty industry journey. So we're officially into season 3 of the podcast, and today's guest I felt was perfect for this season's pivot. He's a man of faith who you may know as Buzzed and Faded on social media, but his government name is Andrew Collett, and Andrew has entered the chat. Welcome, Andrew.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. So I always like to let my guests, first off, before we get started, just kind of introduce yourself to the audience. Who are you? Where'd you grow up? How'd you grow up? Just tell us a little bit about yourself.
All right. So, like you said, I'm Andrew Collett. I was born in Kansas City, Missouri, but I was raised in South Florida. So I started in Miami, worked our way up to Fort Lauderdale.
Okay.
Then from there, I joined the Army for a few years. And then after the Army, I was in the tech field. So I was a assistant manager at Best Buy and a store manager at Sprint for probably a total of almost 9 years. And at the end of that journey is where I came to a crossroad, and I was like, I need something different. Tired of this industry. And the partner I was with at the time was doing hair, and so I was like, maybe I'll do barbering. That's where Buzzed and Faded came. Because I was like, my very first thought was, I'll just do barbering. They do, cosmetology. Well, came to find out in Missouri, you can actually apprentice for your license, and I really didn't like the barber schools too much. So I was like, let me just do cosmetology. I can apprentice, not have to pay 18, 20,000 to go to school. And started that and realized really quick that I enjoyed that because I was like, I'll do cosmetology, but I'll focus on barbering. But then I was like, no, I like lightning, coloring, and all that stuff. So that's where I'm at now. I've been doing that for just under 6 years, probably. Yeah, 5.5. While opening a salon
Awesome.
at the beginning.
Okay, wait. Say that again?
Yeah, so I was apprenticing for my license probably 2 months in while opening and doing the construction for a salon. And it's a 4,000 square foot salon with 10 chairs, and we have 8 stylists.
Holy
So I was the
moly.
student, the salon owner, the manager. I had like 7 different hats.
Yeah, yeah. Which is typical for a salon owner, right? You're like the maintenance person, the accountant,
Yeah. Except they're
the
usually not learning the industry too.
yeah. No, that's definitely a twist. So wait, so back up. So your partner at the time, was a cosmetologist and then you decided to apprentice under them,
Mm-hmm.
and then you opened a salon
Yeah.
while
And a lot of
you weren't
people.
even licensed yet. You're apprenticing.
Correct. So I was an apprentice. Basically, you're a glorified assistant that does bookwork on your own and record hours. But the kicker to that, I don't know how it is everywhere else, is schooling here is 1,500 for cosmetology. Being an apprentice is 3,000 hours.
Okay.
So you do double, but you can record double per week. I think it was like 72 hours per week or something like that. And I was basically working that. So
Okay. And
there was
then are you able to make money when you're apprenticing? Like, are you able to charge for clients?
no, nope.
Cute.
Do model work or um, can't really even assist because technically they're being paid. So you just work on doll heads or models. That's about it.
I got you. Okay, so just to go back a little bit, I have a confession. We talked about my age earlier before we got on. So I was coming of age in the 90s. I spent a lot of time in bars drinking 25-cent beers. So when I saw the name Buzzed and Faded, that's actually what I was thinking about. But it was actually that you wanted to be a barber. And
Yeah, so
then,
I've gotten that from a lot of people. They're like, "Are you always buzzed and faded?" And I was like,
yes.
"Nope, actually, it has nothing to do with what you're probably thinking."
Yeah. Yes.
Reaching out trying to buy my handle, and I'm just like, if I didn't have it for 6 years, and like that's what people know me as, I
Yeah.
probably would. I don't know. I'm in a new chapter of my life where I might just end up releasing that. I don't know yet.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm excited to hear about the I'm excited to hear about that. So you get your apprenticeship with your partner, you guys open a salon. So I have a few questions about that actually. So the first one is so my husband and I just celebrated 21 years together last week.
Congratulations.
21 years married last week. And I love my husband very much, but there's no way in hell that I would be able to work with him day in and day out. So that's just a lot of time together. And I know you're bound to get on each other's nerves. So just share, like, how does that talk about, I guess, the challenges of working with your partner, owning a business, trying to get your license? Like, how does that work? And you guys don't kill each other.
So I've been told that many, many times by current guests, stylists, friends. They're just like, I don't know how you guys work together. And I'm just like,
Mhm,
for the most part, there wasn't really any bickering or it wasn't really complicated. When it
mhm,
came down to the apprentice side,
mhm.
it's the last thing a partner wants is their other partner to tell them what to do or that they're doing something wrong when you think you're doing it
Yeah,
right. Um,
yeah.
but for the most part, I don't know. Maybe because I've heard that from everybody, so maybe it's just me, but
Mhm,
easy going, and
yeah,
I'll tell you how it is. If I don't like
yeah,
something, like there's been many times I was just like, you could have said that a little differently, like
yeah,
I'll tell you straight up. So
yeah.
I don't know. It was challenging, but I'd say the business side was probably more challenging because you have two different outlooks on how you want the business to be ran, and you have to find the middle ground. And sometimes you don't agree with each other,
Sure,
and you're just like, all right, well, if that's what you want to do, then you go ahead and do it that way. But
sure,
that's your way of doing it. I'm not gonna be the
sure.
one delivering that news.
Yeah. And then, so the other part of that is, so you're a salon owner, but you actually have very little experience behind the chair. Did you find that to be a hurdle that you had to overcome, or were stylists pretty open to allowing you to run your business?
I wouldn't say there was a hurdle with it because originally when I was going into that role, I have the business background of being a store manager for Sprint, and so
Mm,
I'm used to like managing people. On top of like doing trainings in the past for um, the reps in the stores. So it was more so like I was the business side of things, and then I started getting my hands dirty in the industry, which I don't know. I don't want to make it
Gotcha.
seem. I don't want this to come off wrong, but it was just it just felt very natural for like me to get into the industry.
Yeah.
Does that make
I mean,
so?
when I cruise your IG page, I think that you are doing exactly what you're supposed to be doing. So that makes sense that it would feel natural. I'm just curious.
The funny part with
Yeah.
that is I never thought I had a creative bone in my body. I thought I was just always like the tech business person. My sister's a
Mhm.
singer. There was a filmmaker and writer. So it's like they were all the creatives. I was just in the tech world. And then I dive into this and I'm like, oh, I can do art and creative stuff. Huh, I do have that bone in
Yeah.
my body.
Yeah. And I mean, you even said that you were in this tech world and you felt like you needed something different. So it feels like you knew deep down that you were a creative. You were
Well, to give you
resisting the pull.
my grandmother was a hairstylist. My uncle was a hairstylist. So there was like that
Wow.
in the family, but it was never something that I thought of when I was upbringing.
Wow. Okay, so you didn't always want to be a hairstylist and you joined the army. Did you go anyplace cool while you were in the army?
Nope, I was in Savannah, Georgia.
Ah, I've never been. Is it beautiful?
The city's nice, and then you have what is it? South Carolina right there.
Uh,
I forgot what it's called over there, but the city's nice. The base, not so much.
not so much. Yeah.
Real
Yeah.
rundown. I always tell everyone, I was like, if I went to like Germany or Japan, like I felt like I would have stayed in longer. But
Okay.
that base was actually my last choice out of like I think you have to pick five after you got done with your training, and that was my fifth choice, and that was only because that was the closest base to Florida, where my family was.
Okay.
It
Yeah,
was like a
yeah.
5.5 hour, 6 hour drive to go back to see my family.
Okay. And your family is pretty close knit, yeah?
Yeah,
Yeah.
usually. Yeah. Well, we are like, especially since I'm the one that lives out of town. The rest of them all live in Florida, so
Okay.
we used to FaceTime a lot. Always talking on the phone.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, last question in the salon vein. Would you please share with my audience some tips for cultivating a healthy salon culture? You said you got a 4,000 square foot salon. How many stylists
Yep.
does that hold?
Well, so our space is comfortable. It's definitely not maximized to like be an optimal like money making salon. The
Hmm.
environment's comfortable and there's a little bit more room. Had I known now what I didn't know then, I probably would have had a little bit less space because there's just a lot of dead space within the salon, but it's comfortable. Um,
Hmm.
but as far as keeping a good salon atmosphere, it's definitely a work in progress because they just passed the 5 year anniversary of the salon, which in the last, I'd say about year, I haven't really been a part of that. I'm kind of, like I said, on my own chapter, but I still
Hmm.
talk to a few of them. And when we first started, we were also trying to figure out how to run a salon, how to have all these different, how do you want to call it? Different energies. And, everyone's just different.
Hmm.
And getting everyone to get along. And, it's almost like kind of having kids where it's like, well, they do this. I don't like that. They do this, or they're talking about this.
You won't
And,
stop touching my stuff.
yep, someone move my blow dryer.
Hmm.
Someone use my station. That's the fun one.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it's also a booth rent salon, so it's not commissioned. So everyone has their own station and locker. But we had to make modifications to the contracts to say like, we don't talk about certain things that are just, could be, especially for guests and stylists, that could be offensive in their
Mm.
eyes. So it was just kind of reevaluating as you go and modifying along the way. But I think if everyone, when they go in to work, just kind of leave your stuff at the doormat, and then just, you're there for your guests that are coming in that day. And
Yeah.
everyone has their bad days. Everyone has stuff. And there's been plenty of days that, someone's going through something and we have to talk about it. But it's usually, in the back room or somewhere where the front of house doesn't see.
Yeah.
But it's also a very close-knit group that, especially the group that is there now. I think most of them, I think the longest one, we have like 2 or 3 that have been there since we started. And then a couple of years for the rest of them. So I think we got 2 new ones within the last year that were added in. So
Okay.
for the most part, everyone's been there for a few years.
Okay. And then I know you said you're no longer with that partner anymore. Are you still in co-ownership of the salon, or have you just pulled yourself out completely?
Well, so yes, I'm still co-owner current.
Mhm.
We're just going through some stuff to get out of that.
I gotcha. Yes. Yes. Because that
Yeah.
could be really awkward. Like, it's one thing to work with the person that you love every day, but like, okay, now we're not together anymore, and I don't want to work with you personally.
Yeah, it was good for a little bit, then it wasn't, and now we're here. So
Okay, so then so you leave the salon. Are you working in another salon now? Are you booth renting? Talk about kind of what you've got going on now.
so I do booth rent. Um, I do that like part time, like 2 days a week, and then I actually do house calls. So I
Nice.
have a lot of current clients I had and new clients that I have found with their schedules. It works a little bit better. It's been a little bit more challenging to do house calls, but it is a little bit more freeing, I guess you would say.
Hmm.
And it gets me to travel a little bit, so that's just temporary. It's definitely not the ideal thing to do, especially when you don't know their setup, and
Sure.
then traveling with a whole car full of stuff to set yourself up. But
Absolutely.
I have stuff in the works for the next chapter. I just gotta clear out this existing one that's lingering.
Yeah. Okay, so I was chatting with you a little bit before you came on, and I was telling you how I think that because our job is fun and clients perceive it as glamorous, that they think that we live like these perfect little curated lives behind the scenes. And I know this newer generation of hairstylists are kind of, I feel like you guys are kind of peeling back the facade and showing a lot more vulnerability. I was raised by baby boomers, so like we weren't allowed to be vulnerable. We had to rub some dirt in it and like keep it moving. You know what I mean? And it just feels like your generation is like really kind of peeling back that facade and showing some vulnerability on IG. So I have some questions about, I have 2 questions here actually. And doing my research, I saw that you had fairly recently lost your brother, your younger brother.
Yeah, he was my youngest brother. I have a younger
Okay.
sister and a younger brother. He was the baby.
He was the baby. How old was he?
He would have been 24 when
Oh, he
he
really
July.
was a baby.
Yeah, he passed away in
Yeah.
January. But he had muscular
Yeah.
dystrophy, Duchenne's
Okay.
muscular dystrophy to be exact, which
Okay.
um, exceeded his life expectancy by far because
Okay.
he wasn't supposed to live past his late teens, like I think 17, 18. So
Wow.
not only did he live past that, he was also able to go to college. He got his degree in filmmaking and screenwriting. And he's looking down at me
Mhm.
like I'm stupid, but I don't know like the actual terminology for his degree.
Mhm.
But he did films, and so he has one film that's out. I can share the link with you if you want. It's the blue and
That would
white,
be amazing.
and
That would be
that was a
amazing.
project pre-COVID that he was working on, and then COVID hit, and he kind of had to flip the script because of how the economy was and everything. But basically, it was to spread awareness on air travel with people that have disabilities. So anyone that has
Mm.
wheelchairs or other means of their legs, so to say, and
Mhm.
the amount of times that either their chair doesn't make it there, their chair gets damaged, or they're just seen as an inconvenience. And so
Gotcha.
that's what that film was about. And then his latest film that he was working on before he passed was an actual, I don't know what the terminology would be, but it's kind of like about himself.
Okay.
I forgot
A
what that would be.
biography or
Yeah, kind of.
autobiography
I guess it's supposed
ish.
to depict. It's a kid and his dad learning that he has muscular dystrophy, but it's supposed to be about him and my dad. And so my dad and my sister actually were finishing that video for him, and they should be releasing it this year for him.
Yay.
That
Good.
promised him. So
That's awesome. So, first of all, my condolences. I can't imagine losing a sibling. Um, so you're going through this, you're losing your brother. But you're still behind the chair at this point?
so it's a little tricky because the salon, the ex partner, that stuff was kind of already in the works of being out the door. And then the brother situation happened. And then the rest finalized, kind of made more permanent. Um, but I'd say like 25% at that point.
Okay.
Because like I, I explain it as like you take a snow globe and it looks really calm when it's just
Mm-hmm.
there. And then you shake it all up. And that's basically
Mm-hmm.
what like November to February was.
Yeah. And so how do you stand behind the chair? Did you intentionally step away just to give yourself space to breathe? Because how do you stand behind the chair? How do you grieve something so several somethings, it sounds like.
Yeah.
So how do
So
you
at first I did step away just to kind of like take my own time. And I don't know, I have a weird way of grieving. I know it's before it used to not be healthy, but then, I had to go get my own therapy and work on myself. So I found ways of making it a healthier way of grieving. But I don't know. I'm just like, I'm at peace with, I'm very big on just leave well enough alone a lot of the
Mhm.
time. So, when certain things aren't working out, it's not working out. You can fight for things, but there's no point. And then, I don't know. I stepped away from the salon. That was the main reason for that was the other chapter. And then once my brother had passed, I just kind of took my time, probably I'd say like 2 or 3 weeks, and then everything else kind of came into fruition of finalizing. So I probably took a solid month and a half away just because I was trying to resort where my focus was going to be at. I was even
Yeah.
thinking like different careers and doing different things, moving different states. Like, I don't know, maybe if you would call that like a midlife crisis or just like a mental breakdown, it's probably what I went through.
Mm.
But then sat back and just really thought about things, and I was like, I don't need to move away. I can make this still my
Yeah.
place.
Yeah.
Because I always said if I was going to move anywhere, it would have been back home. But with a missing piece over there, it's just not the same, even though the rest
Yeah.
of it is there.
Sure.
But yeah, and then I just started to think, okay, I really do enjoy what I do. I enjoy like the guests I work with and like what I get from being behind the chair, not just doing hair. Like we said
Yeah.
earlier, still talking to people. You're still, it's
Mhm.
one of the industries that within very short amount of time, you're in this personal bubble of this person already. So it's like
Yeah.
you're very intimate. And
Yeah.
then I was like, okay, well, how can I do hair? Because I can't do it the way I was doing it before, because that would just be weird. And so someone was like, well, you could just do it at my house. And I was like, huh, you're right. And so that was like one of my current guests that I had. And then I was like, all right, that wasn't bad. Bless you.
Thank you. Sorry.
I was like, that wasn't bad. And so I kind of took a poll, and a lot of my current guests were like, yeah, that would be great if you do it at my house. And so I just started doing it that way, and then found a location that I can work at for the ones that don't have that as an option. And then I'm excited for this possible next chapter of what I'm working on. So it's to be until later. I don't like to speak
Okay.
things before speak things before.
Fair enough. Fair enough. I won't dig too deep. In terms of places, are you familiar with ShareShare? It's an app.
No.
So
Share.
it's like sometimes we call it Airbnb. So it's
Mm,
basically for stylists that want to be a little bit mobile. So if you have clients all over the city, or at this point all over the world, you go to this app, you can go and rent a booth for like a couple of hours, a couple of days, a couple of months, but you don't have to sign any contracts. So if you don't know about it, check it out.
you
Like,
know.
yeah. Because if you're mobile anyway, it makes it a little bit easier. You could rent a spot closer to somebody's house and still have a salon set up without having to be in somebody's house. Unless you
Definitely
enjoy that. Because I went to people's houses for years and I liked it until I didn't, you know.
it is until you have like 4 kids running around. They have to leave, change a diaper or something.
Dogs,
That's
yes.
the non-ideal part of doing that.
Yes. Yeah. 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 Okay. So when I was going through your IG page, the word that kept coming to my mind as I'm looking at your posts was authenticity, and that's actually what prompted me to reach out to you because you just came across on the page as someone who is very authentic. Um, so my question here is, or it's not even really a question as much as a statement, if you would just share a few thoughts or insights about authenticity and the beauty industry.
So that's a big one for me, especially coming into the industry when I did. It's kind of like a kid in a candy store. You're seeing everything online. You're like, oh, I want to do that. I want to do this. That looks fun. And then you start doing some of those things, or let me back up. Like, I want to meet this person, or, this person looks like someone I want to look up to or be like, or, you have all these things coming at you. And then once you start to either go to those hair shows or meet those people, then you start to realize that what was being displayed on Instagram wasn't the authentic self, and it was just this facade. And so that's kind of where I had like a coming to self moment of like, all right, all these things that look great is exactly what it is. It looks great, but it's not great. And I struggled with growing my page for a while just because I was like, for what? Like, even right now, like, I just post as something that I feel like would be beneficial for anyone that's following me. And that's it. Like, I don't post just to like, ooh, this looks like it'll be good to share with someone or something like that. It's just like, it's real life stuff because I feel like that's what we need. On
Mm-hmm.
social media, it's so easy to see the highlights of what everyone's going
Mm-hmm.
through versus like the
Mm-hmm.
real. I could be going through something, and I have gone through a lot of stuff that people have reached out and said, like, thank you for sharing that. Like, that's helped me along the
Mm-hmm.
way. And if I can help one person, then I've done my job. That's all I
Mm-hmm.
care about. I don't care about the
Yeah.
numbers, the following.
Yeah, I mean, and honestly, the follow that doesn't even matter because you can't do all those people. You can't do 150,000 heads of hair, right? Like that's crazy. It is less about that and more about connecting and like I said, when I look at your page, it's very it resonated with me and we're like not even one of the few things I think that we have in common is I mean we have that in hair, but like on the surface we don't have a lot in common, but I'm looking at your page and it just really resonated with me.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I feel like I've connected with a lot more people that way. Is like,
mhm,
whatever their content is or they're posting, and it's usually, it's still about hair, but it's just the vulnerability and the authenticness that really
mhm,
draws me in, especially especially after everything I've gone through, like all I care about is authentic right now.
Yeah, just really real stuff.
Mhm.
And I feel that. Okay, so let's talk about educators because it feels like post-COVID lockdowns, everybody's an educator. And you're kind of newish in the industry, right? Um, if you could say anything, just one thing specifically to educators in the industry, what would it be?
It's actually funny because I was an educator just shortly after I was licensed. Um, I just was in the right place, right time, and had the opportunity to educate for um, a color company. And I was able to travel to shows, and I did hair shows, salons. I even did a main stage thing in Australia that I was like thrown into, and I was like, all right, I'm like 5 months into being licensed. This is a
Yeah.
little weird, but um, the biggest thing I did being a new educator, obviously you have to know what you're selling. And the first thing with that is I will never work with a brand that I do not believe in the product and just chase the money.
Mhm.
So for any
Yeah.
of the educators that are out there, don't chase the money. You're not going to be happy at the end of the day. And again, it goes back to that authenticity. So if you're
Mhm.
pushing a brand that you don't like or that's not good, then how authentic are you showing up to the people that are following you? And then on top, the second thing is so there's a guy by the name of Ben Mullen. He's one of my mentors, and he has the Ben Mullen Project, and he
Okay.
helps you. It's more of like a public speaking or just like speaking to be understood, and like keeping your audience and stuff like that. But when you're an educator in whatever industry, there's two tiers. The first tier is just kind of like the basics that anyone can go through, and then the second tier is really helping you hone in on like your specialty. So for me, it was teaching hair from stage, and so he'll work on like your body language, working on um, breathing, so that way you're not saying like I just did, and then how to captivate the audience from stage doing hair because you can't just stand in front of the model because
Sure.
they can't see. So like he teaches you to stand from the side and like do things this way, and that really helped me to be able to deliver to whatever audience I was teaching. And I
Okay.
actually got feedback from one of my reps that I ran into. So I taught at salons for her when she was at Salon State Beauty, and I probably haven't seen her in like 3 years. And we ran into each other getting food, and she was telling me and my partner now that like just talking about how like I was an educator and like just like tooting my horn, and I was like never really had that feedback, and like you're a rep that like works with all the educators, so I
Mhm.
was like all right, I was like that's good, but again it's investing in yourself so that way you can be the best that you can be. There's the
Yeah.
one saying like doesn't matter what job you do, you could be a janitor, but you're going to be the best damn janitor that there is. And I believe that in
Absolutely.
any industry that you work in. You're always a student, you're always learning, but when you
Yeah.
stop learning, that's when you become stagnant, especially in this industry. Things are
That's
changing, things are revolving like a revolving door, styles are coming back and leaving,
yeah.
so you just always have to work on yourself.
Absolutely.
And
Um,
when you're listening, make sure you're listening to actually listen. Because there's a lot of people that listen just to like listen, but they don't actually listen.
right. Listening to
Understand.
understand versus listening to respond.
Right. There you go. That's what I was trying to get at.
Yes. So I need to go back to this 5 months in to being licensed. You're in Australia on stage.
Yeah. I think I have a picture
Wha-
on Instagram of it still.
And so, what are you doing? And like, how are you feeling? what is it like? Are you terrified? Are you feeling kind of cocky about it? Like,
No, no, no.
what?
I was borderline about to have an accident in my pants. Like, I met my ex-partner, and they were the one that was going to be on the stage.
Okay.
And the owners of that company, like, I was just there to assist and help out. And
Hmm.
then I see them all talking, and then the owner pulls me aside, and he was like, "All right, so tomorrow, or they're going over the meeting and like just talking to all the educators that are going to be there." And it was a small group, so there was only like I think 4 or 5 educators that were going to be on stage, and I
Hmm.
just happened to be in the room still, and my name was on the screen as an educator to be on the stage, and I was like, "Is that correct? Because my name's up there." And they're like, "Oh,
Uh-huh.
yeah, we were going to tell you in a little bit, but you're going to be on stage." And I was like, "Okay." And then
All right.
I'm not going to tell them no. Like, those are the owners of the company. And when
Uh-huh.
I like walked out, I think I went to the bathroom immediately, and I was like looking in the mirror, and I was like, "What is going on?" And so I called
Yeah.
my mentor, and I was like, "All right, so I'm gonna be on stage in Australia. Um, I don't know what to do." And so we just talked about it. It was definitely nerve wracking. Pretty sure my hand was shaking like this the entire time. Couldn't really see. Uh, I was actually doing a undercut. So I did 2 models. One was like a rose gold. We lightened and did like a rose gold on her, and then the other model was like undercut. So it was kind
Hmm.
of like the stagey hair stuff, where it was just like undercut and like you're not really talking. It's just kind of like the show. And I
Hmm.
remember going out there, and we had talked about the undercut I was going to do, and we get there, we're sitting down, and the lights come on. Grab my clippers, blank. Forgot what design I was going to do, could not remember it. And I was just sitting there with the clippers in the back of her head, and I was like, what am I going to do?
Oh crap.
I just
Uh-huh.
wing it and freehanded a design. Ended up coming out good, but I mean, you gotta improvise when you have to. So
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, there's I don't know my
It's a
journey's been,
super cool story.
yeah, it's a cool story to tell, but it's definitely if I would have been able to go back and change things, I definitely would have slowed down quite a bit.
Mhm.
Probably not open a salon at the same time because that was definitely high stress. Probably not apprentice under someone that you were a partner. Definitely would have changed a lot of things just to make my life easier because it was for about 4 years high stress, go, go, go. And now in this new chapter, I'm like low stress. I'm going to go when I want to go, do what I want to do when I want to do it, which
Slowing things down.
so I'm very grateful that I am able to in my current situation. So
Yes. That's awesome. Awesome. If you could change one thing about the beauty industry as a whole, what would it be?
it's hard to just say one because there's so many things I
Mm.
would like to change, but
I
I would
mean, you
just
can you can go off on a tangent here if you want. It's okay.
so this whole like healthy competition is good, but then there's the
Hmm.
competition that just likes to down like what's the word I'm looking for? That just like to talk bad about other stylists' work and all that stuff, saying like theirs is better than theirs, and I'm just like it's art at the end of the day. As long as that guest enjoyed what they got, they're
Yeah.
obviously gonna come. They're obviously coming back because you've seen them post them a few times. And I was
Mhm.
like, at the end of the day, it's just art, but everyone has to like say their own opinion, and like everyone's granted their own opinion, but like just be nice. Like
Mhm.
I don't know. I just feel
Mhm.
like there's just so much negativity, and it's kind of getting better as more people are like changing it up. But if I could change one thing, it's just just being a little bit more supportive within the industry because I mean we're all the same. We're all hairstylists, you know.
Yeah.
So that's it.
No, for sure. For sure. Talk about, because you've had a pretty transformative last couple of years. Talk about what you value in life today.
What I value in life. I was just talking about this the other day with my current partner. think the biggest thing, and I've been on this mission for quite a few years now, probably like the last 5 years, which is funny because that's like when we opened the salon. So that's how long it's been that I've been searching for this is peace. Peace is probably the number one thing I value, especially, losing a younger sibling. Uh, there's always, no family's perfect. So like we had issues with like my family too, and my ex-partner, salon, like everything's just, and everyone has stuff going on. But being able to find peace amongst the storm, that's what like I was looking for. Is how to get to a place where like that doesn't matter. That doesn't matter. I'm okay with that. But I'm at peace. And so that's where I've been at for quite a while. And, it's like I said earlier, I started therapy, started working on myself, started like reflecting, seeing like what I need to change, what I don't deserve, what I do deserve, and just kind of realigning everything. It goes back to, I think there was a lot of expectations versus boundaries. And so I feel like changing that up to where it's like, okay, these are my boundaries I'm going to live with. As long as people can abide by that, they can be in my life versus like me expecting things of people, because then that just lets yourself down right away.
Yeah.
But yeah, peace. Peace has been the number one thing, and I'm finally seeing it. So, and feeling it. And it's great.
Yes. Good. Okay, so we've reached the part where I call it story time with Auntie Hair Coach. So I give you 3 prompts, and then you just tell me a story about at least one of them. Some people like to do all 3, but give us at least one story, okay?
All right.
All right. So the first prompt, tell us about a time a client pushed your boundaries. The second, tell us the most creative way you've used your skill set. And the third prompt is tell us the worst beauty industry advice you've ever gotten.
We're going to go with all 3. We can do this.
Okay.
So the worst beauty advice, in my opinion, was fake it till you make it. Because I'm like,
That's a good one.
I was like, no, there's no faking it, because if I fake it, someone might lose some hair. So,
Period.
working with lightener, no, there's no faking that.
Nah.
That's the one.
Yeah, for sure.
That doesn't really work in this industry. Now,
Yeah, for sure.
being on stage, like what I talked about with my issue, forgetting my undercut I was going to do, yeah, you fake it till you make it there. But it doesn't work across the board in the industry.
For sure.
What was the second one? I'm starting from back.
The most creative way you've used your skill set.
Most creative way. So one of the big missions that I had going into opening the salon was giving back to the community. And so we actually, our first day being opened, we partnered with a local organization here called Uplift. And they go around a few times a week and they give out hot meals and like necessities to those in need, or like homeless or just anyone that's in need.
Yeah.
And so they actually brought some of their clients in, and we served them meals, gave them haircuts, and that was pretty special to me. Like that's just like that's what I strive to do more of, is just giving back. Obviously, when COVID happened, that kind of derailed a lot, and then everything just kind of derailed altogether. That's just one of them. And then went to the Philippines, which I'm half Filipino, so went back there, I think about 4 years ago. I think it was before COVID. And we actually cut hair for some of the people in a small town in the Philippines who, they don't ever really get haircuts or anything. So that was special, just to be able to use my skills to do that.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And did you just go with your family? So I was actually going to ask you when we closed the interview, I was going to ask you, I didn't want to ask you on camera unless you mentioned it, because I initially thought you were a white guy. But the longer I've been sitting here looking at you and talking to you, I'm like, this is not a white man. What
No,
is
I
going on here?
get all sorts of, mostly Hispanic is usually the first go
I
around.
could see that. I
Um,
could see that.
but I am half white and half Filipino, so my mom's Filipino, and
Okay.
my bio dad is white.
Okay.
My stepdad is Hispanic. He's Colombian, and
Okay.
all growing up, all my friends were like, "Oh, you look like your dad," and I'm like, "That's funny." I was like, "Because he didn't birth me, but thanks."
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm half Filipino, and we went there.
Okay.
I was on like a medical mission, assisting some
Okay.
doctors. I was actually working in like the pharmacy in the Philippines, basically, like handing out
Okay.
ibuprofen and like all these different medications, which was just
Yeah.
wild to me. I'm like, I know nothing about pharmaceuticals other than your normal over the counter stuff, and here I am like
Yeah.
reading doctor handwriting, which is horrible still,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
on the medication for them. And then there was a portion where we had like a break, and we had a line of people, and I was just cutting hair.
That's good stuff.
Yeah,
And then the last one was tell us about a time a client pushed your boundaries.
push my boundaries. So I have a couple of those. Um, there's one that it just makes me laugh because I was talking with my current partner, and I don't know if this is true, so maybe we'll take a poll on this show because
We'll ask the
I
audience.
have been told by many, because obviously I'm a male in the industry and I
Mhm.
work with females mostly, but they say
Mhm.
that it doesn't matter if it's male or female, that the best part of the service is the shampoo and getting like your head massaged or head rubbed. And I'm like,
I think that's probably 98% of people would agree with that. Yeah.
okay, so the kicker to that is a few of them have said they even consider that better than sex.
I could see that.
I thought,
If you get it right. Man, there's this little spot right behind the ear, that pressure point, man.
yeah,
It's
so
good stuff.
that's what I was like, okay. And then so I started asking people, like my partner's friends and stuff, and I'm like, all right, now I just can't wash hair the same because I'm just going to think other things.
That feels awkward.
You know, I did have a client of mine that I was massaging their head, and this is where it like it pushed my boundary because there was a slight noise that came out of their mouth, and I was like, this is where
Was that a moan, man?
I did not even bring it up because I wasn't going to pay it any attention. I just asked one of the other stylists, and I was like, "Can you finish this shampoo for me? I'm gonna."
Hilarious. That's
But
funny.
I think the typical one that we get is a client or a guest that is trying to push you past the limits of what you feel their hair can um, withstand.
Sure.
I've had a few of those
Sure.
that were like, "We just want to go lighter," and I'm like, "Well, your hair's not going
Yeah.
to make it if you go lighter."
Yeah.
So, and they're like, "Well, we could just try," and I'm like, "I won't try. You can
Mm,
find someone else to try because I'm not going to have
yeah,
my name on your hair." So
absolutely. Because
that's
you're
why I
not
go
going to tell that part of the story where I told you no when
right.
you
It's
leave
going to
here
be
with
oh, he just
Rick.
messed the hair up, and I'm like, "No, no, no, never mind.
Uh,
Not going to work." But you wanted me to do it anyways, so that's my
yeah,
integrity, my authenticity that says
yeah,
no.
absolutely. Good for you. Here for the boundaries.
Hmm.
What are you excited about right now, Andrew?
Like right now, currently,
Hmm? What are you excited about?
I'm excited about life right now. Life's been great.
That's
I'm
awesome.
just calling this next chapter I deserve this. So everything I'm doing is
Good
just
for you.
I deserve.
You do. You do. I know you are dating someone new. Do you care to share any details about that? Now we're just being nosy.
She's actually a really good person. It's kind of crazy how things happen because obviously I was in a very long relationship, married for 10 years. So it was that was, it was a long committed marriage. And,
Yeah.
you know, I shared something the other day, and this is what someone shared with me, was sometimes you have to let your ship sink to find the treasure that's waiting for you at the bottom. And that, as like everything goes on and things move forward, I'm like, that has never been so real than right now.
Mm,
The person I'm
yeah.
with now, I've known for quite a while. We were just friends, and it's just crazy how things happened. So
Yeah.
I'll just
That's
keep it at that.
awesome.
I like a little,
Yeah. That's awesome. I'm happy for you. How can the audience follow your movement?
and mainly on Instagram. I'm not big on TikTok. I'm not big on
Okay.
Twitter or X or whatever you want to call it now. Um, I don't even know. I'm trying to figure out this
Okay.
thing with Instagram, but I'm basic. I just like things
Yeah.
simple. I'm on Facebook and I'm on Instagram. Andrew Collett on
Okay.
Facebook and Buzzed and Faded, but I don't really post on Buzzed and Faded on Facebook. And then on Instagram for right now, it's Buzzed and Faded. Exactly how you would think it
Mm-hmm.
is. No spaces.
Mm-hmm.
And
Unless you decide to change it and start anew.
yeah, which I don't know if I am. That seems like a lot of work. So we'll see.
Yeah. No doubt. I appreciate your transparency, Andrew, and I'm grateful for your time today. And you do deserve, and I'm excited to see how the water flows from here.
I appreciate it. You
Yeah.
want to see more of it, you can see it on my page under my tagged videos of who my new partner is and how amazing they are.
Awesome. I will definitely do that.
You having me?
And then don't forget to send me the link for your brother's movie. I want to add that to the show notes.
I will.
Awesome. All right. Thank you, Andrew.
Thank you, Tasha. Thank you for having me too.
Thanks so much for listening. If you're a beauty pro with a story to tell, or you have a stylist you'd like to hear from, you can DM me via IG at Auntie Hair Coach, or use the Contact Me form on tasha-davis.com. Or if you're feeling really spicy, send an audio message in Spotify. Whether you loved it or hated it, please leave a rating, like, and or follow, because it does something fancy with the algorithm. I'm Auntie Hair Coach. Ta-ta for now.
Oh, yeah. I'm so glad you could make it.